Brad Lepper, co-founder of Stone Brew. How you doing today?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Doing good. I was super excited to talk, but before we get too far ahead, I'd also like to thank Devin Faley from Honeywave Media behind the camera here shooting here today.
Big D.
Big D. He's pretty good at what he does. He's got some really cool visuals he creates, and his Instagram. You ever seen his
Wrestler?
Instagram? Yes, Mad Wrestler, wrestled at Morningside. First question, what does the owner of a coffee shop choose to drink when you can drink anything you want?
Man, that has morphed. When we started the coffee shop, because I didn't grow up drinking coffee, and I wasn't a coffee connoisseur by any means. When we started Stone Brew, I was more of a business guy that thought coffee was a cool industry. So all the people that knew me or worked with me back then would know it was a white mocha, sometimes with extra white mocha. And in the 3 years, it's morphed down to just a plain double shot latte or black coffee, or every once in a while we get a little bit of vanilla in it if I'm feeling a little sweet.
What about that pumpkin spice this time of year? Is that any up your alley?
Man, you got to sample everything. So that was an ordeal this year to try and figure out exactly what the right recipe was for the pumpkin spice. So I certainly partake, but not my main order. It's funny, the more coffee you drink, the less sweetness you want in it. Like you start to appreciate the other flavors in the coffee more than you like the sugar.
I got to agree. I mean, just speaking for my wife, she is the biggest pumpkin spice everything fan. She loves everything about it, but at the same time, obviously with the coffee festival, we've had our fair share of coffee, and she also appreciates the original flavor, and tasting what's in it. But
I think one of the big things that got me into just drinking black coffee is pour overs, like being exposed to pour overs and trying different coffee black, but in the pour over brew method. It's so much cleaner, the flavor, that I think that's really was kind of my gateway drug, so to speak, into drinking black coffee. And then when you go and when you're trying new coffees, you cup, and when you're cupping coffee, it's just black, and you really dive into what the individual flavors are.
So caffeine is the real gateway drug. We heard it here first.
Oh, yeah. Caffeine is everything.
Yep. So just going to rewind a little bit. Last year, we had Stone Brew as one of the first vendors at the inaugural Siouxland Coffee Festival. I'd love to hear about your little experience there, what you guys saw, what you guys were doing, and kind of just do a little recap of the 2018 event from a vendor standpoint.
For sure, man. Yeah, I found out about it when it was released on Facebook as an event, and immediately thought that something that Stone Brew should be involved in. And so you and I got in touch, and I really didn't I didn't know what to expect the first year, but the philosophy for us was just, we wanted to be involved and support it. So we weren't really looking at the cost as a vendor or the work that would go into it and trying to say what was our ROI. I didn't know if there would be one that first year, but we just wanted to support the event. So got everything set up, went down there, and we were just blown away. The response from the community of Sioux City, the attendees, there were almost 1,100 people last year. And if you check out the pictures, I mean, we had a line at our booth pretty much the whole day, put a lot of Stone Brew coffee in people's hands, and just had a great time. So, after that, this year, kind of got on the game a little faster and wanted to be more involved this year. So that has kind of brought us to this point.
Yeah. Thank you for the kind words about the event last year. I mean, we had a great time as organizers. We got to work with a lot of cool people like yourselves, different shops, but we definitely heard from the fans that Stone Brew was one of the favorites. And I think the lines
awesome.
at the event kind of gave that away as well. But
the price was right too. So, free coffee, that always helps.
Free coffee always draws a line for sure.
Yep.
But yeah, so 2018, great event, a lot of attendees. We didn't even know what to expect. We broke 1,000 attendees. I think we hit around 1,100 attendees, like somewhere in there. Yeah. But yeah, so we really wanted to build on that. We were super happy with the response, like you said, for the community. And, people just wanted to come out, have a good time with friends, family. And one thing that kind of popped up that we didn't know how it was going to work out was it turned out to be a family friendly event. So we weren't promoting bring your kids. Obviously we don't want it to be like a daycare aspect, but we definitely want people to be able to have conversations and have a good time with their friends, family, kids, whoever it may be. So, that's one thing we're looking forward to building on this year again is, making it an experience where you don't have to line up a babysitter. You don't have to, make exuberant plans to be able to get a day out just to go drink some coffee with some friends. So, we're making it friendly so that it's interactive. People can bring the kids, friends, whoever it may be. So that's one thing we're definitely looking at building on this year. Yeah.
And then I was amazed at the amount of people that I knew there. I mean, you kind of just see the whole community as a whole come out. And so it's a gathering event, and you just get to not only try really good coffee, but also meet your friends and community out at the convention center.
Yeah. And one thing I'd like to note is, Stone Brew last year was serving up lattes, helping out with the latte art competition as well. But one thing that's new to Stone Brew this year, and I'll kind of let you talk a little bit about that, but that's something that's here in the background. You kind of see lurking. You see these really cool machines. Would you like to talk about where we're at and what equipment we're by right now, Brad?
So absolutely. So we've been working on this for quite a while now. We're down at our roastery facility, which is it's in downtown Sioux City in an undisclosed location as of right now.
Speakeasy type.
Yes, it's I call it the coffee speakeasy. We are going to be roasting. So we have our new Diedrich IR12 and the IR1 over here. The 12 is going to be the main roaster. So that's going to be the roaster. The majority of the coffee that people will consume is going to be roasted on. It's got full automation. So once we dial in what our roast profile will be on the IR1 over here, which does like little 1 pound batches, we'll dial that in, and then we can transfer that over to this big guy and make really consistent quality roasts with our coffee. So we're pretty pumped about this, and we're just excited to get it going. It's been a long process to figure out exactly which roasters and where and how to get them installed and all of that jazz. So we're excited to get it rolling.
I'm super excited for you to get it rolling too. That just means I can try some new coffee here in Siouxland. And correct me if I'm wrong, but one of these will be making an appearance at this year's festival.
Yeah, we're hoping to bring the one right behind you, the IR1, the little white roaster back there. As a part of, we'll dive into this here in a second, but as a part of the show, we're hoping to be able to do some roasting demonstrations. And so I'm doing my best to make sure we can have a roaster on site so people can actually see the process go from beginning to end. It only takes about 15 minutes or so, depending on the roast profile, but we'll just call it roughly 15 minutes to go through a roast. And so you can see the beans go in their green form and then come out and see them in the drying bin up front and or the cooling bin and see the whole process.
Yeah, and I have a million questions I could ask you about roasting, but I'm going to hold off just so we can first talk a little bit about so your involvement last year. We were talking about how you guys were a vendor, how you're involved, you had a good experience, and how you jumped on to be a part of this event this year right away. And I would love to hear from you, Brad. Why did Stone Brew jump to be involved so actively this year, and why did you guys decide to be involved at the level that you're at?
So yeah, we came on as a title sponsor this year, and I think what we saw last year that really sparked us to want to be involved at a deeper level was just the quality of the interactions that we got there. I mean, this is an event that is our target demographic of people. I mean, these are people that care enough about coffee that they are going to buy a ticket to a show and go on a Saturday afternoon to go down and try coffee. There is no more prime person that I should be trying to communicate with and be trying to get my product in their hands and the people that are going to come to the Siouxland Coffee Festival. So just seeing that last year and knowing that we want to not only support the event from just a community standpoint and a coffee community standpoint, but also from a business standpoint that, this is a great opportunity for us to get in front of people that are truly coffee fans, and hopefully make a good impression.
Yeah, I mean, you said it best. Stone Brew cares about their customers. And I think that shows, because I mean, you guys could have jumped on again as a vendor this year, but you decided to. You actually approached me to say, how can I help more? Which really stood out to me, because I was really looking for people to work with in this community that wanted to build on this event. Because again, you said it. We had a good event last year, but obviously we always wanted to raise the bar and make something really cool for Siouxland. And one thing that's really stood out to me while working with you, Brad, is obviously you own Stone Brew, but you love supporting the other businesses around you. You're not afraid that this sponsorship is going to help your competition here in Sioux City. You've come at it from a mindset of all ships rise. And I mean, just from an organizer standpoint, like I said, it's been great to work with you. And I guess we want to talk a little bit about your philosophy on why you're not afraid of that competition aspect. So, I mean, some people it's like, that shop's there, it's not really like a rivalry.
No. And anytime most people who go into business tend to have a little bit of a competitive spirit to them. And I certainly have that. And if you play Spike Ball or Monopoly or Settlers or any other game with me, you might see that come out, or darts.
Maybe a board flip.
Yeah, it could happen. So I'm very competitive, but I also look at business with a little bit of a philosophical standpoint of understanding that the whole point of business is providing value to people. That if you go into business and you're just trying to extract value from your customer, that's not going to last. Eventually people are going to get sick of that and they're not going to come back. They have to get value in return. It's a win-win scenario in order for business to be sustainable. So I'm not worried about what somebody else is doing, because as long as they're providing value and their customers getting value, that's a good exchange. That's sustainable. As long as I'm doing the same thing, the marketplace in Sioux City is large enough for multiple people to do well. And the other thing is too, just like when you go to a city, you're always going to see a restaurant district. You're going to see an auto row. You're going to see a business district or more of a commercial district where businesses like to clump together, and competition is good. It makes everybody hone their skills a little bit more. It exposes customers to higher quality versions of the products that you're selling. So, it's a great thing for people to be able to go around Sioux City and have great coffee somewhere else that might be more convenient on that day, or they just want something different. But at the end of the day, there's more people in Sioux City looking for high quality third wave coffee, and that's a good thing for all of us.
Right. And I think we can see that trend here in Siouxland. There's so many people jumping into the coffee game that are just kind of showing what they're best at. Like you said, it's multiple shops doing multiple things here. And, I'm really excited to see these local shops that are doing really cool things integrate with the regional and national brands that are going to be at the event this year. It's going to be a really cool mix of coffee professionals along with coffee lovers. And I love the conversations that happen when coffee professionals start talking with, the regular attendee who, might not have had ever premium coffee. And this is their first time not using Folgers. And, some really cool conversations happen, education experiences. But we can dive into that. So with that sponsorship that you guys have decided to take on, would you like to talk about the 4 areas that Stone Brew will also be highlighting at the 2019 Siouxland Coffee Festival? Yeah,
so you and I work together, and excuse me, this whole show is really focused on the customer experience, more of the consumer, where there's a lot of shows that are more focused on the industry side, the barista, the shop owner, the importers, whoever, the business side of it. We go to the SCA every year, the big international show. This year was in Boston. And when you go to those things, it's all really about the commerce side of it, the industry side of it. There's not much that's focused on the individual, the end user, so to speak. Whereas the show here, this show is all about the end user. This isn't about trying to get the next importer or the next syrup supplier or whatever, the next roaster to come in and check it out. This is really about reaching the people that are going to be across the counter from you and getting that cup of coffee. So with that being said, we wanted to still get some of these national brands involved, still get some of the people that help make what we do work, to get them in and bring their expertise for everybody to learn from. So we're going to set up where we're going to have in one corner, you're going to come in and we have our importer called Cafe Imports. They're out of Minneapolis. We were just up at their location a few weeks ago, and they had, I believe it was 3 million pounds of coffee, green coffee, 3 million pounds, just stacked about 15 feet high, and it's crazy, huge warehouse. So they're a major supplier out of Minneapolis, and they import from all over the world. So they'll be here with one of their specialists. It's a green coffee buyer, and they will be going over some of the processes as far as like the origins of some of the different regions of the world are, and then explaining some of the processing differences, some of the washing. There's so much that happens to the coffee before it even comes into the country that will have a variation on the flavor profile, where you can take the same bean picked off of the same plant or same tree and just process it slightly different, and it changes the way that the coffee tastes for the end user. So they'll be, hopefully we're going to have a little bit of a cupping station with them as well. So people will be able to maybe taste some of those nuances and difference and learn a little bit about what coffee is like before it goes into these roasters. And so then when they're done there, they'll roll over to hopefully our Stone Brew area where we'll have our roaster set up, and we're going to do about a 15-minute roasting demonstration and explain the difference. That there's a common thing that people get confused about is everybody's asking for an espresso bean. There's no such thing as an espresso bean. There are companies that will sell that. They'll put it on the bag as this is their espresso. This is what they use to make espresso, but it's just coffee. It's just a coffee bean. It's just the one that they like, that roasting profile. They like that origin and the way that it tastes using the brew method of espresso. So we'll be able to kind of show that you can take the same bean, roast it to different levels and have completely different flavors. And then when you're done with that, you'll go to the cafe.
Well, before we move on to the cafe, I just want to, we'll rewind quick. So you're saying for Cafe Imports, they have the coffee beans, the green coffee beans. So coffee is a green bean.
It kind of looks like soybean. It's almost like I grew up on the farm. So it has a little bit of a soybean color. It's a little more green than soybeans, but kind of looks like that.
So it's a green bean, gets shipped to the roaster, and the roaster takes that, puts it through a machine like this, similar to this.
Yep.
And from there, they can different roasts, whether that's light, dark. Would you want to kind of touch on like different type of roasts?
Yeah. So that's another thing that a lot of coffee shops over the years have broken down their roast by light, medium, and dark. And we still talk about roasts in that way in some cases, just because I think it's probably the most effective way to explain the flavor profile. But really, each individual bean and origin is going to have a specific roast profile where you're going to roast it to the point that you get rid of the kind of grainy flavors, or I mean grain flavor that can be in it, kind of that almost a grassy flavor that can be in it if it's under roasted. So you want to get it past that, but avoid getting it to the point where it's so dark that you lose the flavor notes within that particular origin. If you're trying to really dial in the roast for that specific bean, and there's a certain amount of subjectivity there, and what one person likes, somebody else might not. That's why there's more than one coffee shop. But that's the goal. And then dark roast coffees, you can put about anything in a roaster, and if you're roasting it dark, you're going really for that that roasty flavor in a dark coffee.
So very cool. We have the origin, we have the roasting, and moving on to what you were talking about, the cafe. Yep.
So after the coffee's been roasted, next place it goes is to the cafe. that's where our customers get to interact with it. And we really want to demystify the cafe experience for customers, explaining what all those drinks are on that menu, all those fancy words that most people will come into a coffee shop. And I know I will look at a menu and see those drinks and have no idea what they are and never try them because I don't want to take a chance.
Right.
So our goal is to explain that it's really very small differences in the drinks, whether you're talking about a latte to a cappuccino or from a cappuccino to a cortado and a macchiato. As you go down through this list, just explain, what those drinks are, how they're made, and maybe some of the origin stories of where they came from, and just explain it in a way that all of a sudden you walk in and no longer are you intimidated by a typical coffee menu, and you'll feel educated enough you can order anything that you want.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you could literally walk into most coffee shops, and if you read the menu, it would sound like a different language, which is,
I mean, there's a strong Italian influence on everything coffee.
Yeah. But I think, going back to what you said a little bit, that the menu can be scary. And I know personally, a couple of years ago, I wasn't drinking the same drink I'm drinking now. I didn't know what to order. I didn't know how to order it. And I kind of just learned along the way. And, it started as just like a black coffee kind of thing, moving up the chain, had some lattes here and there, but then I found out about cold brew, and once I finally got adjusted to cold coffee, because that wasn't something that I liked at first. I fell in love with the cold brew and like the nitro brew, but then recently, so this year, I had a friend who introduced me to iced Americanos, and wow, I gotta say I haven't found anything I like better than an Americano or iced Americano.
Yeah, the Americano is a kind of an underrated drink that I think a lot of people love just brewed coffee, regular coffee. Mm-hmm. And they don't know that with just one change going from a brewed coffee to an Americano, that the improvement in the flavor of the coffee itself, and an Americano is just espresso and water. And it's a great substitute, or a great small change from just getting regular brewed coffee
for sure
to kind of stepping that up to the next level. And if you haven't had an Americano, that's a nice one to go to.
Yeah. Very pure.
It's just cleaner.
Yeah. Wakes you up, and low calories for those who are looking into that too. That's always nice.
Yeah. That's one of the great things about nitro too, is nitro with the nitrogen infusion. It gives it a mouthfeel like there's cream in it. And because it's steeped for, I think we do 18 hours on our steep on our nitro. Wow. That water really extracts and takes out a lot of the acidity in the cold brew, and also extracts more caffeine. So you have a higher caffeine and lower acidity in the coffee, and that kind of gives just a smoother flavor.
So anytime you're drinking a stone brew nitro, it's basically been brewing up for about almost a complete day.
Yeah, the longer you brew it, the smoother it gets. So if you under brew, cold brew, again, that's subjective. It depends on what you like, but it's going to have a little bit, I'll just say, bolder flavor, where when you get it a little bit longer, that's where it kind of pulls out some of that acidity again, and allows it to be a little bit more of a smoother drink. And that's what we're going for with the nitro, is it's the calorie-free, dairy-free version of a iced latte. Yeah. It's just clean. It's a clean flavor.
Yeah. And so, I mean, that's just diving into one drink that Stone Brew makes, but we'll kind of move on to our last session that Stone Brew is going to be kind of featuring at the event. And that's the homebrew station. Would you like to touch on that? Yeah.
So we're, at the end of the day, all this stuff is cool. You'll know a little bit more, but it might not affect your day-to-day life. Where that last station is going to be about how do you brew good coffee at home. So we'll have a couple baristas who have put together a recipe for a pour over. So we will explain how to make pour over at home, what you should be looking for in the grind, the consistency of the grind. The recipes are pretty specific. It'll tell you exactly how much weight in beans and grams, and it'll tell you exactly how many ounces in water, the temperature of the water, and you can get as specific as how much water you pour at specific times in the brewing process. So you can break those down into a way where you can repeatably get really high quality coffee.
So there's a method to it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's good to know. Because I mean, there's, like you said, there's a million ways to make coffee, but we all want to be able to make high quality coffee at home, or at least most of us who, wake up early mornings and we need that extra little kick to get out the door. A good cup of coffee can definitely make the day a lot better.
Oh, and it's a fun thing that, you might not have time to make a pour over every morning. But it's a fun thing to be able to do if you have guests over to your home, or you just want to do something special, to be able to pull out the stuff to make pour over with people. It's a more interactive experience.
Yeah. So just reflecting back on those 4 stations now. So we went from everywhere from origin. We went moving on to the roasting, onto the shop terminology, and finally the homebrew method. So, I mean, the biggest way I can kind of break this down is that people are going to come to the event wanting to drink coffee, and they're going to leave learning something new about it.
And they will have drank plenty of coffee.
They will have drank a lot of coffee. Yeah. So hopefully not too many people are shaken. I know that caffeine can get to them, but yeah. And, like you said, kind of about the homebrew methods, a lot varies, what your coffee tastes like. Like you said, the pour rate, the type of coffee, the type of coffee maker you're using, like all that stuff.
Water temperature is
water
huge.
temperature, the type of water.
Yep.
So, I mean, just quick note, best type of water to use for coffee?
Well, that depends on who you ask. If you, sometimes the water that's in an area, the minerals that are in the water are just fine for coffee. If in places where it's not, you'll see people that'll use like RO, water purification systems, but then they will add in minerals back into the water for the flavor. So you don't just plain RO water tends to not make the best flavored coffee. It's still good, but if you ask the industry professionals on coffee tasting, they prefer to have some minerals in the water.
So many things go into making a good cup of coffee. And that's actually one reason that we're doing something new this year. I guess I don't know if you've seen it on Facebook, but for every ticket purchased leading up to the event, Siouxland Coffee Festival, we're actually giving away either a grinder or a French press every single week to people who bought their tickets.
That's awesome.
I know. We thought that was just something cool to do to kind of encourage people to get them ahead of time. Last year we had a very long line out the door, and we had to shuffle in the people and get them their ticket spot. And we just want people to be able to come in, show us your tickets, walk in, and have a good time. We don't want to have you sit in line. So it gives you a chance to buy your tickets early, reserve your spot. And also, like I said, you could win a really cool French press. It's like a stainless steel one. It's pretty nice. And then a couple different grinders you can choose from. So be on the lookout for that. Otherwise, one other big announcement coming, Siouxland Coffee Festival tickets can be purchased online at siouxlandcoffee.com, but coming to a Stone Brew near you.
Yes, you will be able to purchase tickets at the counter with your coffee. So we will be rolling that out soon. I think maybe hopefully by the time this podcast gets put out, we have this all ready to roll. But yeah, just come in and we'll have tickets behind the registers, and just let your barista know that you're looking for some tickets for the show, and they'll hook you up. Yeah,
one thing to note, if you do get your tickets from Stone Brew, those will be physical tickets. So do not lose those. Those are the only way that we can know you bought your ticket.
Yes, that's not backed up in some database somewhere with your name. So
right.
This is old school. This is like when you bought tickets for a football game in the 80s. If you lost your tickets, you didn't get in.
Don't be scalping them outside the convention center.
Right. Hang on to this.
So just real quick, Siouxland Coffee Festival, November 2nd from 10 to 3 p.m. Tickets are $12.50. You can either buy them at siouxlandcoffee.com, on the Facebook page, or at a Stone Brew near you. And you have 2 locations?
Three
locations.
I forgot about the third location. So we have our first store down on Gordon Drive, out in front of Rollerama. We have the store out in the Dunes there with Central Bank and NAI United Realty right there, just off of the exit at exit 1. And then we have our newest location, which is in Vernite Honda, at the Honda dealership right down on Singing Hills Boulevard, just down from what's the name of the place? Hoo Hot. I almost said Ho Chunk, but it's Hoo Hot.
Other side of town.
Yep. So that's a full bar there. So it's very similar to our Gordon Drive store as far as the menu. So all the drinks that you would get at Gordon Drive are available down at Vernite. So yeah, swing in. They've got great parking, easy access in and out. So yeah, check that one out.
Yeah. Well, Brad, I appreciate you coming in to talk today. Devin behind the scenes, thanks again for coming in to shoot this video early morning. Good thing we got you some coffee. Any other last things you'd like to say, Brad?
No, just thank you for the opportunity, and excited for, I think one of the cool things too about this event is it's just not about the coffee. It's just not about the community. It's also supporting a really good cause with Volunteer Siouxland, with what you guys do down there. So when you buy your ticket, you know that the money's going to support a good cause here in town. So yeah, just hoping to see as many people out this year as possible, and we're ready to roll.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Brad. And just to kind of, for those of you who don't know, myself and a co-founder started Volunteer Siouxland 2 years ago now, and we had the goal in mind of creating an online volunteer center for the community, just to help connect volunteers to things that they're passionate about, because we have so many great nonprofits in the community. I think we're serving up to 140 right now. But yeah, all the money is going back to support that cause, volunteersiouxland.org. You can go check it out. We're really trying to change the culture of volunteerism in the community. We've done some pretty cool things over the past 2 years, but this is just one more thing that we want to get our hands on and incorporate volunteers into, and just continue being a community partner.
So yeah, come out and support.
Yeah, for sure.
See you at the show.
Thanks for having, Brad.
Thank you.